This is City Councilor at Large Julia Mejia. I am sitting here on behalf of Councilor Roel, District 4 City Councilor, and the Chair of Small Business for the City Council until he arrives. This hearing is being recorded and being broadcasted live on, and will be recorded and broadcasted on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, Files Channel 964 at a later date. We are here today. This hearing, we're also seeking written comments that could be sent to the committee email at cccSmallBusiness@boston.gov and will be made a part of the record and available to all counselors. Public testimonies will be taken throughout the hearing, and individuals will be called in order in which they have signed up, and you will have 2 minutes to share your testimony. And I want to just quickly give you all a minute to realize that if you are here to speak and you haven't signed up, please make sure that you do so that when we call public testimony, you're ready to go. A public testimony will be taken throughout the hearing, not at the end, just so that you just know that, just be ready when your name is called up. If you are interested in testifying and you haven't done so, make sure that you sign the sheet near the entrance of the room. Today's hearing is on docket 0761, in order for a hearing to audit the City of Boston's accountability and transparency and accountability regarding construction sites impacting small businesses in the City of Boston. This matter was sponsored by myself, City Councilor at Large, Julia Mejia, and was referred to the committee on May 1st, 2024. And now, while this particular committee hearing is specifically around construction, I want to just note that we're really excited to have someone from the streets here, because there's a lot of different issues. It's not just construction. Sometimes it's issues of the sidewalks not working or parking situations. So all things that deal with the impact of businesses, we hope that we'll be able to unpack here today with you. So thank you for being here. So I am going to, in the interest of recognizing that our colleagues are here and ready to go, I'm going to start off with my colleague, Councilor, District 6 Councilor Ben Weber. You now have the floor for opening remarks.
Thank you. You can hear me. My name is Ben Weber. I'm the City Councilor for District 6. I represent the back of Mission Hill, Jamaica Plain, and West Roxbury. I represent Eggleston Square. I think I've spoken to businesses there which are heavily impacted by construction and changes to the roadway. And I think it's, my gratitude goes to Councilor Mejia for bringing this before the council, because I think we need to do as much as we can to support small businesses in our neighborhoods, and I thank people from the administration for coming and being part of this process, and I look forward to learning more about this and learning what we can do, going forward. Thank you. Soy Benjamin Weber, el concejal de Distrito 6. Mi español no es muy fuerte, pero puedo platicar con alguien después. What was the hearing? ¿Cómo se dice hearing?
Audiencia.
Audiencia. Okay. So gracias y vamos a ver y estoy oyendo. Is that it? Yeah.
Escuchando.
Okay.
Sí.
Gracias.
Bueno, ustedes saben que los latinos estamos fuertes y todo el mundo está haciendo el esfuerzo para comunicarse con nosotros. Gracias por eso. All right. So because I want to be mindful of time, and I know that Chief Irubu, you have a hard stop at 8. I'm just going to briefly say that for me, as an at-large city councilor, it's really important to center the voices of the people who are living the realities and working alongside those folks who are doing the work, because I believe that the only way we're going to really make things happen is if we do so in communication and in collaboration and not in conflict with each other. So this hearing, and my hope is that our participation here is going to bring solutions in terms of what we can do to help support each other. And I also want to just acknowledge and thank National Grid, Eversource and Boston Water and Sewer for being here with us this evening as part of the dialogue. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Chief of Opportunity and Inclusion and Economic Opportunity for the city, Chief Idowu. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor. Good evening to everyone here, Councilor Weber. And it's okay, Councilor, no one ever remembers the name of our cabinet. I added too many words. Now our acronym is EIEIO, but it is what it is. I also want to thank the City Council staff, both from your office, who have been helpful in organizing this, but also central staff. I always appreciate when we do hearings out in community. I mean, love City Hall, but it's nice to be out here, especially here in the Bowling Building in Roxbury. So for those of you that I've not had the pleasure of meeting yet, but existing friends and future friends, my name is Shagun Idowu. I have, for the last 854 days, had the pleasure of serving as the Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. There are 5 departments in this cabinet, and I promise not to filibuster. I just want to make sure that folks know, what we do. We've got tourism, sports, and entertainment. We've got supplier diversity. We have the Office of Small Business, which is what brings me here today. We have the Office of Consumer Affairs and Licensing, and then we have the actual Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, which includes cannabis equity, global affairs, and nightlife economy. And so I'm just here to share that, Mayor Wu, and particularly our office, have been overly committed to the success of the 18,000 small businesses that are employing 128,000 people and generating $28 billion every year here in the city. Every time I or Mayor Wu or even Governor Healy stand up and talk about the success and strength of our economy, it's because of many of the folks who are in this room today. It's because of our small businesses. Since taking office, our team has had the great and good fortune of being able to award $13 million to over 1,000 businesses in the last couple of years. Through our SPACE program, which many of you may be familiar with, where we're helping entrepreneurs move into existing spaces across the city. We've awarded $7.5 million to 61 entrepreneurs, 75% of them people of color. In just the last year, we've provided over 3,400 hours of technical assistance to over 140 businesses, totaling about $760,000. In the last couple of years, through our legacy business program, 60 businesses that have provided so much to our communities have received $30,000 apiece in order to continue operating. And actually, we were here just a few months ago to talk about our contracting, because in addition to awarding grants and technical assistance, it's also important that all of you are getting connected to providing services and goods to the city. And so we were proud to be able to announce just downstairs a couple months ago that we, in just one fiscal year, increased our spend with diverse businesses from 5% to 12%. And of course, our goal is to continue to increase that percentage. So we're here today because of the impact of construction on small businesses in a particular area, but I know that businesses across the city have been feeling the impacts of such construction, which my colleagues will share later on, the importance of the work that's been happening on the streets of a city that in just a few short years will be celebrating its 400th year as a city. So our infrastructure is much older than the rest of the country. However, when our team sent out the last email related to that $13 million I talked about, one of the things that we included in the email to folks was that this kind of might be it. Before COVID, the city actually never awarded grants to small businesses, and it's because of a state law called the Anti-Aid Amendment, which prevents the city from providing direct dollars to for-profit entities. And of course, we would love to work with all of you to help change that particular law. But because of COVID, the federal government provided money through ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act, through the Biden-Harris administration, which has allowed us to provide this funding because they have flexible rules with how we spend that money. But unfortunately, that money was limited. Congress has not awarded more of that money, and so for small business, we have very, very little, if anything, to give back out. But what we do know is that it's not just the grant money that matters. And I think that there's some small businesses that may be here or others that might be listening in that know that it's not just about the money, it's also about how we're utilizing that money and really the services that the city provides through our technical assistance program that help our businesses grow, whether it's marketing, whether it's legal support, whether it's finding a location and helping to negotiate a proper lease that's not going to bilk you of money over a short period of time. We want to make sure that all of you know, if you're not already connected with our small business team, that we are here to essentially provide you services that we will pay for, but that will help your business not just navigate and survive where we are, but grow and expand. Because for us at small business, true success for your business is not just maintaining. True success is being able to open your second, third, and fourth location throughout the city of Boston and throughout this region. So finally, I'll just say, Councilor and Mr. Chair, we acknowledge you and appreciate your bringing us here together. Just want to say that, you know, the city of Boston has a vested interest in the success of the businesses, particularly in the area that we're talking about. I think of Merengue, which is essentially the anchor restaurant on that part of Blue Hill Ave. I mean, I know myself, if you were to go look at my bank account, you know, has spent a lot there. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's been a really important driver of bringing folks to that area. I remember when they first opened, and, you know, the city of Boston was a participant in helping make that possible. I think of Madhouse Motors and all the work that the city has done to support those that business, Roy's Auto Body and the work that we did around Restore and refacing the front of the business, and then the work that we're doing now with Boston Car Keys. I know Alicia connected with the business owner at a previous meeting to talk about additional support the city can offer. So we have a vested interest. We're investing dollars, staff time, but again, as I shared at the beginning, your success is the success of Boston, and if you are not successful, then Boston is not reaching its full potential. So finally, I'll just say that, again, we want to be thoughtful about how we're providing support to businesses that have been impacted by the construction. Again, the city does, you know, I mentioned again this state law that, you know, right now doesn't allow us to provide direct dollars. ARPA has allowed us to do that, but that's run out. But we want to be able to work with your business, understand what the actual impacts are, and then provide the services free of charge to you that we will cover that will essentially what the grant dollars would have been used for. So we remain committed to working with all of you. What was true yesterday and what is true today will be true tomorrow, that this is an issue that we are focused on and that we do care about, and we'll look forward to working with you from this day moving forward. So I'll turn it to my colleague.
I'm gonna set the timer. I forgot to do that. So you got 5 minutes, okay? Julie, don't be trying to go over that, okay?
Don't worry, mine will
5
be
minutes.
much shorter. So good evening. I'm Julia Campbell. I am the Deputy Chief of Streets, and the Streets is a cabinet which includes both Boston Public Works and the Boston Public Transportation Department, or sorry, just Transportation Department. This evening, we have our construction team here represented. We also have the utilities that have been working in the street represented. My team oversees the utility coordination, which allows utilities to work in the street, and we know that that is a lot of the construction that this community has been experiencing. I won't go into the details. That's why we brought the whole team here to, you know, share information, to listen. We're mostly here to listen.
Wow. Good job, Thank you. Chief, take a note from Julie here. You want to come?
Yes.
take-
Sorry that I'm late, everyone. Brian Worrell, District 4 Boston City Councilor and Chair of the Committee on Small Businesses. Great to see everyone here today. Great turnout, a lot of small business owners that I see from the community. So now I'll turn it over to Hector for any opening remarks.
Hi, and thank you, Julia, for your leadership. Thank you, Chairman, and for the invitation, and city officials from the Michelle Wu Cabinet. I'm here on behalf of the businesses on Blue Hill Avenue that has been affected economically for over 2 years with a construction that have many of the businesses 1 or 2 payroll away from closing. These businesses, they need assistance, not technical assistance at this moment. They need monetary assistance to just continue operating. They're back on the rent, they're back on the payments to suppliers, they are, we really feel neglected. We're angry. We feel neglected by the city because we can really understand how come there was no planning, an impact planning for the businesses and the residents where a construction is going to be around for over 2 years, closing the traffic on Blue Hill Avenue in both ways. How the city officials think that we're going to survive, how the customers are going to get there. If for us that we work there, it was hard to get, just imagine a customer trying to get to my restaurant that is a place where you go and get food. Merengue's been around since 1994. In August, we'll be celebrating 30 years. And instead of me preparing for a celebration, I'm just scrambling to see how can I save my business from closing. And we haven't seen anybody from the city. People start coming on to us when we call Councilor Julia Mejia and State Rep China Taylor. Otherwise, none of this would have been happening. How come? Is it because of Blue Hill Avenue? Because I bet if this construction was on Boylston Street, there was going to be a lot of planning and a lot of meeting with those people that have a lot of power. But the way we see it is that we are on Blue Hill Avenue and anything can happen, They can do whatever they want with us. And I understand that the city needs to do construction, it's needed, I understand. But those things needs to be planned and they have to be an impact study on economical. How can we keep the businesses after the construction is gone? Because COVID couldn't close us, but the construction will. And this is really sad because we employ people from the community. All those faces that you see there, those are families. And we come crying to the city to see what can you guys do for us? How can you save our businesses? I don't blame the city. I understand. I don't blame the construction companies. I understand that they're doing a job, but such a big job. I believe there was kind of meetings and stuff, but nobody thought of the residents and the businesses. And why is that? That's my big question on it. I think I like Michelle, but we vote for our politicians because we really believe on them, and we trust them that we're going to be taken care of at every minute. And as I said, the way we feel is really neglected. And thanks God that we call Councilor Mejia, Councilor China Taylor. Otherwise, this, I don't think it would have been happening. And we pay taxes, we employ people, we pay, every business on Blue Hill Avenue has an economical impact on the economy in Boston. And instead of receiving the services that we need, then now we get the personal property tax, which is another tax on top of all the taxes that we pay, and all the challenges that small businesses face every day. And every politician says that we love small businesses, it's the backbone of the economy, but in some ways they really breaking that backbone because it's getting hard to be a small business in Boston. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just saw Denise a couple days ago when I went to Cafe Juice Up for my favorite sea moss goodness smoothie. The floor is now yours. Oh, and just want to acknowledge that we also been joined by Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Mejia and Councilor Worrell, for inviting me here as a panelist tonight. My name is Denise Omad. I am the founder and co-owner of Cafe Juice Up. We are a juice bar located in the food desert community of Mattapan, and we offer healthy choices for our patrons. I would like to share some of the concerns that I anticipate I'm going to experience. And after hearing this gentleman to my left from Moringa, these are some of the concerns that I fear. First of all, the situation with the traffic. Right now, Cafe Juice Up has a lot of double parking due to customers not finding a place to park, because the business owners in this block, we all drive and we all park on the streets, and so when the customers come, there is nowhere for them to park. And this is pre-construction. And I just fear that we are going to lose customers. Our customers don't come through the door on bikes. Our customers are driving from the South Shore or from the north, back and forth, that patronize us. And, you know, where are these people going to park when this construction is happening? Are they even going to get to come to Cafe Juice Up? That's one concern. Another concern I have is because we're in the food service industry and rodents are present. We have exterminator according to the health inspection codes, on site once a month. But everyone knows once the construction starts, the rodents are going to take over. That's one concern. Another concern is now the decrease in the customers that we see now. We fear that. And decrease in customers is going to affect the employment of our team members, because no business, we won't be able to afford to pay staff members. And the domino effect of that is it'll be lack of work for them. And, you know, when there is a lack of work situation, unemployment kicks in and we will be charged for that. That's another concern. I talked about the parking, but I just want to say here that recently I received assurance from top officials at City Hall about parking enforcement in my block. I'm yet to see any parking officers, and the situation is the status quo. That needs to be addressed. The cleanliness, the Chief of Streets is here tonight. Happy that you're here.
Deputy, but thank you.
Deputy, yes, I'm sorry. I want you to hear my concern. When I go to Dunkin' Donuts in the morning to pick up my coffee, the area is nice and clean. They clean that area every single day. But a few blocks away, between Evelyn and Fessenden, we get no services. The area is filthy. I have to come with my blower and blow the leftover plates and candy wrappers and stuff like that. And we pay taxes. Why are we not getting these services, these public works services? It's a problem, and I hope that you are hearing me, and I'm hoping to see people out there from the Department of Public Works cleaning up the space. This block houses 11 businesses. So imagine, street cleaning is on Monday, and that's all we get. We need more, Deputy, please. And Just give me 1 second. Also, we have 3 or 4 schools in the area, and the concern is about safety measures for these kids. We want you to remember these children and have something in place, because as it is right now, they're out of control when school lets out, and we fear the construction is just going to make things worse. And finally, I have concerns about the seasonal, if construction happens at, winter time, the parking is already difficult, so it's even going to be more difficult. And I want to know about what's in place at those times for the businesses, because as it is right today, it's difficult in the winter time without the presence of construction, and we know that it will get worse. I think these are my concerns for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to public testimony. We're going to take 4 off the list, and then after we take 4 from the public testimony, we'll be turning it over to council for questions. So when you hear your name called, please come up to the mic, state your name, residence, any affiliation, and you'll have 2 minutes. First, we'll start with Elizabeth.
And then I would say that who's coming up next so that people can get ready. All right.
Elizabeth, followed by Ivan.
Lilybeth.
Oh, sorry.
Lilybeth.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Lilybeth.
My name is Lilybeth Abreu, and I'm owner of Blue Hill Package, 108 Blue Hill Avenue in Roxbury, together with my husband, Ariel. And I'm here, I appreciate this happening. It's the only way for the town and the city to hear us. And I back up Hector. Pretty much he shared all of our concern. I've been operating for 12 years. I started with my husband, and it's been challenging for the past 2.5 years. I want to say at the beginning of 2022, January, like a mile before our store, there was parking the trucks and basically organizing their construction. And right at, I want to say the second week of May of that year, they parked right in front of our store. It has been awful. All our food traffic, all our customer that were in and out there, 70% of our sales has gone down drastically. I'm not sure how we are surviving, honestly. My husband had to let go 2 or 3 employees. He's the one working full-time, day and night. And I remember I reached out to Hector like a year ago when I started this going down. A month after they parked there, we noticed the sales going down. And I have reached to the town, to the city. I have emails, of so many people that I have talked to my insurance company. I have talked to my accountants. I have talked to many different departments to see if this has happened in the past to other customers, if this is something that we can, if there's something that we can do to survive. We are hardworking family. In my case, I have 3 children to raise, and it's been awful. It's been hard, and I think the only way we have survived is just together with our hands and trying to make things work with what we have in our hands. I had called the town and they said, oh, it's going to take a month, it's going to take 2 months. Some people say they don't have a date that it's going to be end, that they can't say it's because sometimes things doesn't go the way that they say, and I totally understand. I think we have been so patient with all of with the city and understand that at the end of the day, what they're doing for us is for the future to make things better, to, whatever the reasons are, because there's many different reasons of the construction. And yes, we need a way to a grant. We need a way to make this work. I don't want to close my business. We have even talked about selling our business, but who's going to come to our store and sell? Because if I come with all my documentation, tax returns for the past 3 years, and they see all these sales going down, they're going to say, wait, this is not worth it. Even though we project to them, this is just temporary, we can show them 12 years of our tax returns, and no, we have only received decline. That's all I have to say, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to acknowledge that we've also been joined by Rep. Tyler. Rep. Tyler, you now have the floor, but I'm going to turn it over to Council Mejia for a few remarks.
Yeah. So I want to just acknowledge the rep who has been in deep partnership with the businesses that we are here to talk about, and outside of just the city of Boston, not just Blue Hill Ave, but Mattapan and other parts, and has found innovative ways to be supportive on the state level with some of these businesses. And my hope is that we can model some of that work on the city level and work in partnership with you. So really do appreciate you coming through here today. Thank you.
Of course. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me and for taking me out of turn. I really appreciate you all having me. I feel like I know most folks in the room, but for those that I don't know, I would look forward to meeting you, working with you, and standing alongside you when it comes to community fights like this one. I've had the pleasure of representing the 7th Suffolk District for the last 8 years and currently sit as the Vice Chair of State Administration and Regulatory Oversight at the State House on Beacon Hill. And so just to redirect to the issue topic here, we're talking about businesses on Blue Hill Ave. I too had been notified at the very last minute about this issue topic and was deeply disappointed, the reason why we're here today. And so really greatly appreciate Councilor Mejia and Councilor Orwell and all others for taking time out of their day to bring this hearing to the community to make sure that we can do this the right way. And so I come to you today as a partner and wanted to share some of the work that I've been speaking with Councilor Mejia about and in partnership with her, and look forward to continuing to build on this, because this is going to be the first of very many ways we can partner. As you know, the State House takes up many bills. Our job is to be able to create legislation. And some of those pieces of legislation come in financial avenues. We had the great pleasure of taking up House Bill 4722, which was titled An Act Relative to Strengthening the Massachusetts Economic Leadership. In layman's term, a bond bill, which had money connected to it. And we had an opportunity to work with the folks here to be able to file an amendment to address issues, to create a relief fund for the businesses along Blue Hill Ave. I'm sure you've heard many minutes of testimony. You'll continue to hear a lot of testimony about how a lot of folks, lost out and may even be closing down. And that's really sad to me, because a lot of the businesses along Blue Hill Ave and in our community in general are lifelines to a lot of us. When I get a flat tire, I find myself on Blue Hill Ave. When I want to get a good food or a great smoothie at Merengues, I find myself on Blue Hill Ave. And when I want to do many things, I find myself on Blue Hill Ave, because it's a center to our community. And so to do something about this was something that was near and dear to me, and it was very urgent to me as well. And so we filed that bill, and a part of that bill, I was able to file an amendment. The bill didn't initially include language to be able to create a relief fund for the businesses on Blue Hill Ave, but after talking to the councilors and talking to everyone here, I was able to convene a meeting with both Boston Water and Sewer. Shagun was able to help me out with that, and National Grid and a couple of merchants along Blue Hill Ave. And what I quickly learned was that folks are going to be closing down. Folks were greatly financially affected by this, and it was really hurtful for me to be able to hear that. And so whatever avenue I was able to take to help alleviate the issues there, I was going to be on it. So this bill came around, House Bill 4722, the economic bond bill, and was able to file a $2 million amendment to help create a relief fund for all the businesses on Blue Hill Ave. And so proudly enough, working with all the folks here and the support here, that bill was passed with the amendment included. And so that $2 million of relief fund is now out on the table for folks to be able to apply to. The next step is that this fund actually has to be released from the governor's office. So we'll be talking to the governor, Healy, about how we release those funds, working in partnership with Roxbury and Main Streets. And I see the executive director here to be able to disperse those funds. And yeah, that's what I had to share. And so again, I really appreciate being able to work in partnership with you all and leading and working in partnership and spending many hours talking to Councilor Mejia, whether it's 3 a.m., 1 a.m. We just call each other random times. And Councilor Raw, I thank you for your leadership as well. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And thank you again for taking me out of turn.
Thank you. I want to turn it over to my council colleagues. Any questions for the state representative?
You go first.
Uh,
Well, I do.
Councilman Mejia, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, it's not so much question, it's really gratitude. And I'm curious, we talked about 2 million,
Right.
and we've been hearing from a lot of the businesses, and I'm going to assume, since you are the state rep in that particular area, I'm curious as to whether or not those funds will also help support other businesses, or is it just targeted towards Roxbury?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Thanks to Hector, I was able to understand that a thorough inventory of all the businesses on Blue and between Dudley and Quincy hadn't really been done. So a lot of blood, sweat, and tears happened this week in my office. I actually took my interns out to teach them how to do the do, and we actually walked down Blue Hill Lab and was able to inventory all the businesses and write them down. So I come to you today and let you know that there's about 47 to 48 businesses along Blue Hill Lab. We have all the information, and we'll be happy to share that with you. So how it would look is that Roxbury and Main Streets, I can't get involved in how the funds are going to be dispersed because that'll be a conflict of interest. But Roxbury and Main Streets will pick up that buck and pretty much figure out how in debt folks are as it relates to this issue topic and figure out how they can properly disperse funds.
Okay. So for the record, it sounds like this is something that's going to specifically be to support that.
Right.
Okay, so just make sure that nobody gets excited.
Right, so yeah, our part of Blue Hill Lab, exactly.
There, you ain't getting no money, basically.
So just
right?
based on the numbers, there had been about 47 or 48 businesses. I might be off by 1 or 2, but how the numbers broke down was that each business would be able to be allocated $25,000.
Wow, okay, that's great, thank you. And I think that that's pretty impressive and really grateful for that specific corridor, and I'm just curious, and I'm sure my colleagues probably have some questions now, but if not, we can move on to questions to the panel. But since we have you here, Rep. Tyler, I'm curious, as you start thinking about this work in partnership with the city, is this something that you can potentially see the city matching those funds? And if so, what do you think it would take for that to happen?
Yeah, that's one of the aspirations of mine. Again, I'm a state rep, so I don't really go down the street very much. We have too much happening on Beacon Hill. But the city matching is definitely one of the things that I will hope to have done to be able to help alleviate the funds. Another way that you can help bring dollars to the businesses here that have been greatly affected by this construction is also to get in a contractor, Feeney Brothers, who is profiting from this project, who's actually got the contract to do a lot of the work there, to share some of their profits with some of the businesses there. They can also to create a relief fund. We weren't very successful in reaching out to them and getting in contact before this hearing, but we're ever working on it, and hopefully we'll be able to create a joint meeting to work to figure out how they can do that. It's been done in the past. It's not something that's new. They can do it. They get a lot of contracts. They're profiting a great deal here in the city of Boston, so I don't see why they're not going to be able to create a relief fund.
Thank you. Thank you.
Or add to the relief fund that we're trying to create.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would just add,
Thank you.
thank you, Rep. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just say thank you both for the collaboration and extend myself to be included in the conversation. Would love to help. Would love to collaborate with you both.
Yeah, I think the city matching is definitely the best way you could possibly help with this. So $2 million is it. Questions?
Councilor Weber, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just, in crafting the relief fund, I guess how common has the state done this in the past? Has the city of Boston, other cities, did you look at other cities in coming up with this?
Every issue topic as it relates to the city of Boston is very unique. As you know, it's very complex when you talk about any issue topic when it comes to the city of Boston, whether that be construction, housing, education. Every issue topic is very unique. So to answer your question, how common is a relief fund? Not too common, but that's why I'm more grateful that this was actually able to be passed, because it's not actually common.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I have one question. Knowing that it came, from the House, now at the Senate, what can we do as a community to make sure that it gets passed and signed by the governor? Who should we be reaching out to? Can you tell us that?
So actually, Councilor Mejia and I had been talking a great deal about this, so I would definitely say follow her lead, and we're going to try to create a big push or a big effort to be able to make sure that the governor actually release these funds in a timely manner, because folks are affected today, and they may be closing down tomorrow. So with a bond bill, sometimes it takes a little time to release funds, takes months, sometimes years, sometimes it's kind of an open range as to when they release funds, and so we're trying to make that happen as soon as possible. So I would definitely say, we can reconnect and figure out how we can create a bigger push to ask the governor to prioritize this and release the funds as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councilman Mejia?
And I just want to note for the record, just for my colleagues who are all here listening, and just for clarification, while the rep keeps referring to me, I don't want to take any credit for all of this, right? And I'm a citywide counselor, so I reached out to you because this was happening in your backyard, but none of the work that you did I'm not going to take any credit for it, but I appreciate you trying to.
Well, you should
give
take
me-
credit because you talk.
I don't want people to get jealous
No,
that,
it's all
why
good.
you
It's all-
talking
it's
to
a
me only,
collective
because you
effort,
weren't just
is what
talking to
it is.
me. I just want to be clear.
I just want to acknowledge that we've been joined by our Council President, Councilor Louis Jen. Any other questions for State Representative Tyler?
Just really closing, thank you both for your leadership. This is a very important issue topic, and I'm glad that you brought this hearing to the community. Thank you to Hector for hosting me at Merengue at the last minute to figure out what the heck's going on. Thank you to Shagun for answering my phone calls and making sure that the Boston Water and Sewer was present in full force and making sure that the merchants understood what was actually going on, and I just really appreciate you guys' collaboration. So let me know whatever I can do on the Hill. I'm happy to be able to do whatever I can. Our session is closing out in the next couple of weeks, so if there's something else that you think of, innovative thought, idea, strategy, we only got about like 2 or 3 weeks to make it happen, so let me know. I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Tyler, for all your efforts.
All right, see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
you all
you.
for showing up.
Next for public testimony is Ivan Payapis.
And
And then
after,
Anna will be next,
And then Hortensia.
and then Hortensia.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
2 minutes.
Okay, my name is Ivan Payams. I have a business. I own the business, Hollywood Lakers. We have 3 locations. Well, the one we're talking about today is the one in Blue Hill Avenue. We already have the impact of the economy in general, and having those construction today is very, very hard for us to keep up with what's coming up and what it already exists in our street. We already have let go couple of employment because we cannot, we don't have the traffic that we used to have. We don't have the people that they cannot stop in front of the store just because the construction is blocking everything. We have like a situation even in Columbia Road. I have a situation with parking. I have a situation with the water. Every time it rains, the whole street is full of water. We cannot even walk to the place. The main situation here is Blue Hill Avenue. We need to put attention, the city need to put attention to the whole business block that we have there. We all falling down. We all falling down. We don't know how we open today. We don't know how we be able to keep up with this economy, with the situation with the parking. There's no way, and now it's coming in 2026, we want to have the bike line coming up, another construction. So this never gonna end. This is a situation that it's gonna be for the next year. We're not gonna be able to support the business. And we own building, we pay taxes, and we do everything on time, and it's hard for us to keep up with everything that's going on right now without letting us know, because this is supposed to happen before the construction, not now that we already digging into the hole. Thank you for Julia Mejia to put this together, and Hector to put the effort to try to put everybody together for you guys to hear our voice, that we are suffering today. Not only us, the whole community is suffering. So next time, we're gonna do something. This has to happen before the construction, not now. We're already there. Please. And thank you very much, and I hope we can get the fund to support the business that we try to do today and try to survive in this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now Anna, then followed by Hortensia. Hortensia, if Anna's not here.
Good evening, councilors. Good evening, Chief, and good evening, Chairperson. My name is Hortensia de Rosario, and I'm here representing Visit Nubian Square Tours and Visit Roxbury MA Tours. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I wanted to address the pressing issue affecting our historical landmark tourism company and our vibrant community, the impact of construction. First and foremost, the construction can displace and destroy our historical landmarks, which are crucial for preserving our heritage and identity. These sites are part of our tours. Their loss diminishes the authenticity and appeal of our community as a tourism destination. Visitors seeking to explore our rich history may be deterred, leading to decreased visitor numbers and revenues. Construction also disrupts the visitor's experience. Noise, dust, and restricted access can lead to negative reviews, damaging our reputation and making it difficult to attract and retain tourists in the future. Furthermore, construction projects often lead to gentrification and community displacement. This displacement alters the social fabric of our community, erasing the unique cultural elements that makes it appealing to tourists seeking genuine experiences. The economic repercussions are significant, as a lot of my colleagues today from the business community have talked about. Tourism generates jobs and supports local businesses. When landmarks disappear, so does these economic benefits, affecting livelihoods and overall well-being of our community. Furthermore, historical landmarks are vital to our storytelling and our education. Their removal erases cultural narratives essential for understanding our culture's rich history and contributions, as you can see here today. To mitigate these impacts, we must advocate for preservation, explore adaptive reuse, and engage the community and raise awareness about the importance of our historical sites. Additionally, we request that the historical landmarks be represented by plaques or other identifiable markers that preserve their historical relevance, ensuring they remain a part of our community fabric. Together, we can safeguard our heritage and ensure that our community remains a vibrant and authentic destination for all. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Just for the public and my colleagues, Chief Idowu has a hard stop at 8, but now I'll go to my council colleagues. You now each have 5 minutes for questions, starting with the lead sponsor, Councilman Mejia.
All right, so I just want to thank everyone who has already spoken, and I just have a few questions, Chief. You know, we've been hearing a lot about fund creation, and I'm curious, you know, as a viable pathway towards repairing the harm that has been caused to some of these businesses, what are some of the financial investments that you think that the city is prepared to make to help support some of these businesses that have spoken thus far?
Thank you for the question, and I think it also gives me the opportunity to share a little bit about my philosophy when it comes to grant dollars and the technical assistance that the city provides. Because very often, you know, when people think about technical assistance, they think about some of the things I mentioned earlier around the marketing and legal support, et cetera. But I also consider the technical assistance that the city provides through small business for those who might be renting or leasing their space, our conversations with the landlord to talk about rent owed and either helping on some different payment schedule or talking to other lenders in the community. I think about for those who own their property, I actually really appreciate one thing that Hector brought up on the personal property tax, because tomorrow I'm talking to Nick Garanello, our assessor, to talk about what we do around that in this area. But you know, as I shared in my opening comments, you know, at least if we're talking operating budget, the state law does not allow us to use those particular funds in this case, which is why I actually really do appreciate this partnership on the city and the state level, because the state they've got a budget 10 times what the city has, and so I really appreciate Representative Tyler for finding those dollars. And the other thing about the bill that she talked about is there's another $50 million or so through the Mass Growth Capital Corporation that we have already been talking to them about how we help target some of that money to Boston. So I think when it comes to the dollars, we're going to see a lot more at the state level. However, I mentioned at the top my philosophy on grant dollars. So, before this job, I had the opportunity to serve as the CEO at BECMA, Black Economic Council of Massachusetts, and and so this philosophy developed there that I don't want to give a small business money to give to somebody else. I want to give them the money to make the investment in the business, to either buy the equipment or materials, to pay better wages, to provide better benefits, and to help the small business owner pay themselves. Because a lot of small business owners, they pay everybody before they pay themselves. And so when it comes to the grant dollars, just to say that the reason I offer the TA is I want our team to be able to work with small business individually to address whether it's the bills, whether it's the rent, but then any dollars that we do wind up being able to provide to make sure it's going to the business and not a pass-through to the small business.
I'm gonna, because I have 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
And I got a few more questions that I want to make sure that I get on
I
the
didn't
record
learn
here.
from Julia.
So we mentioned property taxes, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, it was Carlos Castillo was one of the first business owners that brought this to my attention, that a lot of businesses were receiving this property tax. And I think during one of my hearings, I mentioned this to you, Chief, and I think that this is an opportunity that if we want to at least do something in the most immediate, the levers that we have the ability to do something, and even if it's just waiving the property taxes for these small businesses, that's something immediate that we can do right now. And that does not require the state to give us permission to do that. So I want to go back to the appetite in terms of what we can do in the here and now and things that we can viably point to. That's one question. And then Julie, before my time runs out, given that so much of the planning and the planning development department now is going to be under City Hall, there's going to be some more time for planning. And so I'm just curious about some of the communication and outreach efforts as it relates to, we've heard from a lot of businesses that things were being done to them without them, and that they were an afterthought in terms of communication. Like communication came after the fact, or if it did, it trickled down, and oftentimes it wasn't in the language that they both, that people could understand. So I'm just curious, as you continue to navigate the planning and development process, what changes are we going to make, given what we've heard here today and the lessons that we have learned from the business owners? So those are 2 questions with the time that I have left, and hopefully there'll be a second round.
Sure thing, Counselor.
Chief Idu, I still need you to answer the question about the property tax too.
Oh.
That was a specific question that I'd like to know about on the record.
Yeah, I said it. Yeah.
Oh, because Julie was about to talk.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
not done
talking
with
to Nick
Chief Idu.
tomorrow. Yes.
I'm not done with Chief Idu yet, so for the record, Chief, are we going to talk about what we can do in the most immediate with assessing to, at the very least, waive the property taxes that are imposed on these small businesses right now?
Yeah, as I shared in my response, Counselor, I'm very happy to follow up with our assessor on that particular issue. Yeah.
Okay. So
I can't say, yes, we're going to do it. I'm not the assessor. I'm going to follow up with them tomorrow.
as an enthusiastic, or like there's a different, enthusiastically going to advocate as hard as you can.
I am enthusiastically going to, absolutely. He's getting a phone call from me tomorrow. If he doesn't pick up, I'm going to keep calling him until he picks up.
And then if not, I'll call him too.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, Julie.
So, Counselor, your question is in regards to the planning that might go into this work that's been in the street on Blue Hill Ave.
And also in the future to Cafe Juice Up's concerns. Some of these folks that we have here have experienced, are experiencing, or will. So now that we can get ahead of this, Deputy, I am curious in terms of what we're going to do differently in terms of communication and planning, and what type of infrastructure are we going to be putting in place to set people up for success moving forward?
Yes, we absolutely hear the concern, and I don't want to speak for the utilities who are all represented here today. However, our job as the city is to regulate their activity in the street. We provide them the permits, we provide them with oversight to make sure that they are, acting in accordance with the regulations that they have to abide by in order to meet those permits. So we're happy to hear the feedback. We understand not getting information in a timely manner, not getting information in the language that is appropriate. Those are all things that we can work on with them. The system that we have in place has been around for some time, and I think we are hearing, not just from your community, but from other communities as well, that the system that we have is not sufficient. It's not doing enough to communicate ahead of time. It's not helping us look ahead enough, and so we hear the comments and we are taking them seriously. We're building a new system that can be a little bit more proactive, that just hasn't existed before. And I do want to at some point give the opportunity for the utilities to speak to these particular projects. As I understand it, it was just a series of different projects that happened one after another, and you are correct. It wasn't necessarily that it was planned this way. It just so happened that they were following each other, doing the work in the street.
Thank you. Councilor Weber, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So I'm just going to start with something, maybe you can educate me on this, because I almost can't believe my eyes, but, and I don't know exactly what it means. I have a new intern, product of Boston Latin School. She has gone above and beyond. She looked through the city ordinance archives, and in 1990, the city of Boston passed an ordinance that required a disruption impact fund to be funded for major road construction projects where contractors or whoever's doing the construction would put 0.5% into a fund, which then businesses could apply to the public facilities department for reimbursement due to impacts for their business. I don't know. Are you familiar with this ordinance? Okay, I will share. I just found out as we were walking in today, but this is apparently something that has been an issue in Boston for a long time. I'm happy to share it's in a PDF. I don't know what the effect of it is, but it seems like it's possible that we have this mechanism to use. But if we had something like that, I don't know, could both of you comment about having an impact fund here in the city where we required, road construction firms to be paying in? Could this work now?
I would have to see the ordinance and how it set it up. And just for clarity on my side, you said that the companies have to put 1 to 1.5%, or that the city is putting money into this fund?
Yeah, no, I'll read it out here. It says, all individuals, developers, and general contractors performing any part of a major road construction project shall set aside an amount equal to 0.5% of the expected total cost of the road construction work. And that money then goes to the city and the public facilities department. This disruption impact fund shall be deposited with the public facilities department. I'm just theoretically, let's say we just looked at this as a model. They were doing it in Cambridge, and we wanted to. Could something like that work in Boston?
I'm happy to take a look and to see the possibility here.
Yeah, I have no idea whether this has any legal effect now.
Mm-hmm.
It was last century, last millennium, thank you to my new intern, Maya. This is, it's a find. But in terms of the streets, do you think, could you work with the contractors who are doing or whoever companies are doing the construction on stuff like this?
We would be able to work with whatever ordinance we would need to follow. Administration of such a thing would definitely not be in the streets cabinet. That would, be another cabinet. But yes, we could certainly work with whatever we were tasked with doing.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to highlight that for my colleagues, and I'm learning, and it's in the archives.
What I'll do is I'll share with Shane, and then Shane can share with.
I emailed it to Shane because my phone is about to die, and Shane will circulate it. It's the ordinances of 1990 relative to damages from construction projects on streets and other public ways. So it seemed to arise out of construction on Huntington Avenue, which resulted in a business not being able to get deliveries. And this thing. So I don't know if I have any time left, but my question would just be to the deputy. So we've heard about Blue Hill Ave. I hear about this in my district. Ideal Cafe and Pizza on Center Street, right around the corner from where I live. The National Grid was doing work, and it was really impacting their business. What does somebody do in that situation? Should they be contacting National Grid? Should they contact the city? Should they? Or more importantly, if they contact my office, who's a good person for me to be talking to? Is it chief? Where do I start?
Right. So, for example, we're going to talk about a business that it's experiencing being blocked by, trucks or something. People aren't able to see their business, therefore they're not being patronized as much, something like that. Or are we talking about like traffic being routed around? Or it unfortunately matters what the actual issue is, because we have so many different teams. But the best thing is always to start with the 311 team, or if you know which cabinet you need to talk to, we do have designated people that know the different teams of who to route the concerns to.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll leave it to a second round.
Okay.
Thank you. Now I'll go to Councilor Anderson. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our colleague who's just given us more work. So I was going to say that's our job. Let's figure out how to do that. I'm really interested, and great job, Maya, in terms of how linkage works, and then with construction. And then we have to be careful, because I think the way that things were done like 3 decades ago may imply like legal ramifications present time. So we just have to, comb through that and see what we can do about it. And I think it's exciting to find something like that. My question in terms of, I heard your point, Chief, and I am of the opinion that yes, you don't give. If the funding or the support is not sustainable, then what are we doing? Are we just sort of, like throwing money in the fire or something like that? But there are 2 levels of crisis here. One is the long-term sustainability and the short-term crisis intervention. And so I understand that, with ARPA, we were able to do some of that, not too much, but some of that. And there were businesses that came with emergencies, and I know that your office worked rigorously to ensure that they were not displaced. But I guess I would just say invite you to just tell me your position in terms of what you think about that in terms of like the short-term crisis intervention.
Yeah, I don't disagree. What I'm saying is that I want to find ways to utilize all of the services that we have. So there's grant dollars, and then there's the additional services that our team provides. So again, I don't know all the specifics of what is impacting a business, because it's not just the construction. I think it was mentioned earlier by, maybe, I'm sorry if I'm getting her name right, Elizabeth? What was it? Lilybeth. Just about, just the time we're in. Small businesses are struggling in general, and the construction adds on top of that. And so we're trying to find ways to help mitigate in the short term, but to ensure that if we're providing dollars, that it's not just to pay off what is owed. Like, we want to find ways to address that, but we also want money to be used to support the future. Because again, the city's running out of grant dollars.
So it's an and also, thank you.
Yes, both.
I guess the question is, my next question is just in terms of efforts with the Transportation Department, how have you, your cabinet, and or small business under your cabinet, have worked collaboratively with the Transportation Department to mitigate some of these issues?
I appreciate that question, because actually one of the things coming out of the conversations around this before tonight is that because before, small business was finding out at the same time. And so this actually has forged a stronger partnership between small business, between Boston Water and Sewer, between Public Works, and with external partners to ensure that we understand what's going to be happening long before, so that not just Public Works and streets, but our own neighborhood business managers who are always on the ground talking with folks, working through our main streets, are alerting folks and coming up with a plan of action of how we're going to help mitigate any impacts. I actually appreciate, again, Hector, for the impact study piece. I mean, I don't know how much time that adds to the process, but we don't need to go find a contractor to do it. Our team can think about what, we can assess what's going on and then find ways to both help before something happens, as it's happening, but really think about after all this has happened, how we bring customers back to the area.
Speaking on along the same lines in terms of impact, thank you, Hector, so much for being here. And of course, we love Cafe Juice Up, and I have seen you clean your sidewalks actually, and the back and the side, and water it down. We appreciate you very much. I wanted to just ask, in terms of main streets, moving forward in the future, I used to be an ED for executive director for Main Streets and understand the challenges of like it being low, not well funded, and I know that you've worked to give them more funds. But how is small business working with Main Streets in terms of this communication between small business and Main Streets to get to disseminate information to the small business on the ground?
Well, generally speaking, beyond this particular issue, we're in constant communication with the Main Streets directors. There's a monthly meeting to share kind of broad information about either what's coming up or give an assessment of what's already happened. But if we know something's happening in a district, we are in constant communication with the executive director to get information out.
I guess, I wonder if whether it be local or some other type of app has some sort of like way of consolidating certain businesses in certain areas so that you can disseminate information. Because if people are not checking their emails, and we know that some of our demographics in our community may not, or too busy as small business owners to check their email, are we able to figure out a way to really integrate folks digitally so that we can get information to them in real time?
Yeah, I mean, and I have to credit Councilor Mejia, because in one of my first hearings with the council, there was a recommendation about using WhatsApp. But I mean, talking with the law department, there was like a thing we couldn't do. However, one of the things that we do want to explore is like through text. Right now everyone's looking at their phone, for various reasons. And so that's one way to communicate, but nothing will beat in person.
Not the digital,
Nothing will beat
not the digital
personal.
marketplace, not local.
I am
here for WhatsApp.
I am happy to explore with
kidding.
you the digital marketplace, but we know that face-to-face in person is really what works. But in addition to that, happy to explore the digital marketplace.
I thank you. My time?
Yes.
Thank you.
Council President Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Councilor Mejia for this filing, and thank you to all the members of the community who are here to advocate. I know that it's exceptionally difficult. Like I got a call last Thursday for someone who, Thursday is the busiest day for her business, and cones and construction outside just for that one day is really disruptive. So we understand the issue and the need to balance. One of the things, and Chief, you just said this, Hyde Park, if anyone who lives in Hyde Park or near Hyde Park, that the bridge is closed going from River Street and Hyde Park. And that's been something that's been really difficult. And I remember in the early days walking with Hyde Park Main Street Director Tian Simpson to a lot of the businesses, not all of them, but a lot of them are Haitian businesses, and talking to them about the impact of construction. Now that was a state project, and so State Rep Consalvo was also involved and managed to get funding to support these businesses that were struggling. So it's a model, and it's something that's happened before. I didn't really, I came in on the later side, apologies, I was out at another community event, but I was hearing Rep Tyler talk about a state fund that she's going to be, that she's advocating for to support these businesses. And I just want to understand whether this is a model, and Councilor Weber mentioned an ordinance that I look forward to digging into to see if there's relevance or if it's still a live ordinance. But have we in the past done this as a city?
So my understanding is that, I mean, outside of that ordinance, that we have not created a specific fund for something like this, like specific to a geographic area, what I think was proposed here. And what Rep. Tyler was mentioning is she put in for an earmark for $2 million for impact with businesses in the bond bill. So we still have to wait for the Senate and the governor to approve, but hopefully that will be available. But what I was showing in my opening remarks is that when it comes to grant dollars to small businesses, the only way the city has been able to do that has been through ARPA. Before COVID, the city never provided grant dollars, mostly because there's a state law called the Anti-Aid Amendment, which prevents us from giving money directly to for-profit entities outside of a contract, which is why the ordinance that you talked about is interesting, because it's not city money. It's collecting the money elsewhere and then being distributed by a city department. So happy to, again, explore that particular thing. But to my knowledge, it hasn't, but it could have happened before. I'm not sure.
And of course, I've been a big advocate for the grant money that we give, the refresh grants to a lot of our businesses. But there has to be, and I understand, especially the issue of the anti-aid amendment, but there are other departments that do give grants out to entities and organizations, either through grant making. So what would be the difference here? Is it because it's a for-profit entity?
Right. That's the only difference. Everything else is nonprofit. And this is something that came to be realized several years ago, and of course it disrupted some of what the city had been doing before. But yeah, my understanding from our law department, only nonprofits can receive the dollars, and for-profit, we have to find other avenues.
So legacy business, for example, was that done via ARPA?
No, that's operating dollars, but we awarded that money to a nonprofit. Yes, because I know where your question is going. So if we award money to another entity, we cannot tell them where they can send that money, because now it belongs to them. So we can't say it has to go to Merengue, it has to go to et cetera, et cetera. But there are avenues that we could, we couldn't say a geographic location, et cetera, stuff like that. But for legacy business, we found ways to make sure that it was something that legacy businesses could tap into.
And what is the legal mechanism through which the legacy businesses are able to receive?
It's awarded to a nonprofit.
Excuse me?
Awarded to a nonprofit.
Which nonprofit?
Well, it goes through a contracting process, so it's been different every year.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And I just want to, again, thank all the businesses that are here, Hector, Denise, members of community, because I think it's sometimes, even these questions, I'm sure, are complicated, but there are so many limits on sort of, even when we're advocating, and I actually had no idea that ARPA, I'm not entirely so that ARPA was the first time that the city found ways to give money to businesses, but even when we're trying to help businesses directly, there are a lot more difficulties in how the city can help and give money compared to the state, even in the budget process, so that the state is able to get amendments directly to organizations in a way that we can't give money directly even when we want to. So I thank you for that answer. Chief, how am I on time?
You have 10 seconds.
Okay. I think I have one more question, but I will save it for the next round.
Thank you.
And if I can just say, Council President, even money that the city has given out before, prior to COVID, it's still been federal dollars. So we relied on community development block grants, which comes through the Mayor's Office of Housing.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, the city has not used operating dollars, which I'm not sure if that was the proposal for today, but just to say that it's been frustrating on our end, because I always want to come to you all every budget season and say, I want $10 million to give out to small business, but we've not been able to use operating dollars for that reason.
Yes, okay, then can I have a follow-up question to that?
Yes.
So you're stating that all of the money that we've been able to give out to businesses via any sort of grant or any sort of process or technical assistance that businesses get, it has all been through ARPA, and none of it has been through operating budget. And if it has been via the operating budget, it's been via a nonprofit entity that has then worked in partnership.
Yeah, and I'll say federal dollars overall, because even before COVID, before ARPA, the CDBG funding allowed us to provide some funding.
Yeah, and so then I'll follow up, and then this is not my additional question, but a follow-up is, well, we have our main streets that are set up as 501c3 organizations that can be organizations, even if we're not able to get the legalities. And the lawyer in me is like, I think that this is a problem we can solve, but if it's not a problem that we are able to solve because of the structure. We have our main streets there for that reason, and our main streets, there's so much work that I think our main streets can be doing when it comes to legal issues that small businesses face, for example, and they don't have the capacity to hire a lawyer, or there's so much information asymmetry that I think that's another way for us to strengthen our main streets, is by actually using them, not only using them as a nonprofit pass-through if we need to make this happen.
Well, I will say, even on the example, we do provide those particular services through our technical assistance program, and one of the ways we enhanced it through our space program was to provide, because usually the legal support was like, if you're facing eviction or things like that, we would find ways to provide support. But through space, we upgraded to also provide lease negotiation support, because a lot of businesses, they have these triple net leases, that really, words that I won't say on, an official publication, but it's really harming our small businesses, so we wanted to provide that. But so listen, I agree
Those are,
with.
those are just for space grant recipients?
Sorry, Council President.
Okay, I'll come back.
He does have a hard stop at 8.
Well, he's not leaving, because I still have some follow-up
And,
questions. No,
I
no,
just
no.
have one question for the
Don't give it
chief,
away from us.
and we'll go back around for my council colleagues. We'll give everyone 2 minutes. Hopefully, Chief, you can accommodate 2 more minutes of rounds of questions from each one of my council colleagues. My question, and I'm hoping I'll add that. When you said the economic impact study on constructions throughout streets, is that going to be done on, I know we have Blue Hill Ave, we have Columbia Road. Are we going to be doing economic impact studies on both of those projects? Is that the plan going forward?
It hasn't been something that's been discussed. It was an idea brought up today, but again,
Okay.
I'm happy to bring that back because I thought it was an interesting notion.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I know so many small businesses operate on Blue Hill Ave, and understanding how those businesses are making ends meet, who their customers are, who their employees are, where they're coming from, how did they get there, is so important to the businesses thriving in on that strip. I'll go turn it to my council colleagues, and then we'll just go down the row. We'll give everyone 2 minutes, and thank you so much, Chief, for allowing this.
Thank you,
Councilman
Chief.
here, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and we do appreciate you staying a little bit longer, just a few more minutes. But I need some clarity, because from what I understand in terms of ARPA dollars, as far as what we've seen on the website, the city still has $6.3 million left in ARPA funding. Can you just clarify that? Is that true or not?
I think that's a question to ask for finance. I'm not sure when it was last updated.
Because
but
according to the last update on the website, there is still allegedly $6.3 million. And if that is the case, then we do have some dollars that we can play with in that space. So just for the record, want to know that whoever has the power to let us know, then I'd like to know, because this could be a good investment. And then the other question that I have, and this is really not so much a question, because right now, I'm on the Board of Trustees for the Neighborhoods Jobs Trust Fund, which those dollars come from linkage, whether some of it is development and some goes towards housing, some goes towards jobs, economic empowerment. And so in the case of a lot of the folks who have had to lose their employees, because like for me, I'm not here to my hope is that every time I utilize my microphone is about solutions and trying to find as many pathways towards how we're going to get to what people need. So if there's a fund that already exists in the city of Boston that is geared towards workforce development, right? And some of these folks have had to lose employees because they haven't been able to keep their doors open. Is there a way for us to figure out how we can tap into those dollars to help support workforce development for some of the existing businesses that are experiencing impact right now? I think that I understand just because it doesn't exist or that because there's a law, but then we can change the law, because we have to meet the moment. And we always find ourselves having the same conversation and expecting different results because the constructs that we're in. But I am hoping that we can think outside the box and figure out what we can do, as opposed of just digging our heels into the things that we can't do. I know that we can't do certain things, but just would love to hear from you. If we have the Neighborhood Jobs Trust Fund, how can we tap into it to at the very least support the employees?
Yes, thank you, Councilor. And, just to say similar sentiments. I mean, we are always focused on solutions, which I've appreciated, not just the hearings, but we all talk offline about how we can solve something immediately rather than waiting to, in moments like these. On this, it's an interesting question. It falls under the Office of Worker Empowerment. I am very happy to follow up with Trin to see if this is something that makes sense. I apologize that I can't directly answer because it's not in my wheelhouse, but the commitments I can make tonight is to follow up with the right folks.
Right, and then in regards to the funds, right, we have the linkage, right? There are funds already that exist within the city of Boston that allow us to collect dollars. And it's just a matter of creating something or resuscitating it if it already exists, to bring it back to life and say, for every, and this goes to National Grid and to all of these other folks who are benefiting and or who are contracting in our city, there are ways for us to hold people accountable financially to support the businesses that they are impacting, because this is business gentrification here, because these small businesses are not going to be able to stay here. And then we're saying that we're trying to do everything that we can, and we have an opportunity to do that. And I want to be a partner with you on that, Chief Irugu, and you know that. And so I appreciate you being here, and I know my colleagues are eager to ask their
And I'll say to that last question, the linkage funds, and this is mostly just for the benefit of the audience because, everything is complicated in the city. But the linkage funds are controlled by our planning department, formerly known as the BPDA, formerly known as the BRA. So I am happy to follow up with Chief Jemison on that question to, again, see what's possible. But I appreciate the idea shared tonight.
Thank you, Chief Irugu. Council Weber, the floor is yours.
Chair, I think Councilor Fernandez-Anderson has a question. I think if she's asking the question, I'm thinking it may answer my question, and if so, I just...
Are you yielding your time?
Well, can I ask a follow-up? Just give Councilor Fernandez-Anderson priority over me.
Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, the floor is yours.
Oh, the pressure. So, we're lawmakers, and whether, some of us are, newer, not new, but newer, and learning and evolving, the same grace that we ask from the community and the administration, we should extend to you. And I think we're all trying to figure out the way, but the job here is for us to find the laws, and until it gets to the administration and it gets vetoed, then we can't complain. I'm very interested in the research that I think my colleagues and myself are going to get into in terms of how to look at loopholes and work with the legal department to be able to make something happen. And I do understand that you are within, the confinement of the law. So we create that, and then you work within those, right, with those confinements. So I just wanted to, put that out there and say, I don't have questions about, what can you do, but rather the things that we have already done, and then the follow-up there and what has stopped us. And I think I'm interested in the conversation. We've created line items where we've sent money to nonprofits, technically. And at that point, if we made a mistake, for example, creating a line item for funds to go to main streets, then, in that case, right? And does it go to all the main streets? And did we do something wrong? And then can those funds be used for something like this? Because we have created line items, and within the legal parameters that we have, we've created line items. And so I guess, looking forward to a conversation about, or if you'd like to respond here.
Well, I'd be curious as to which line items we might be referring to.
A line item for
the budget
500
amendments, or?
Yeah, a line item for $500,000 to main streets, to specifically to support small businesses in crisis. And I think that my mistake was, of course, confining it only to my district. And I'm not sure I could even do that.
Was the ARPA money you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, if money was set aside specifically to support businesses experiencing an emergency, then I just need to follow with our small business team to see where we are with the ARPA money. I mean, as you know, we have to spend the money very shortly. So I'll see where we are and see what we might be able to do. But if that's what the money was set aside for, we might be able to work within those confines as opposed to having to come through the council to reallocate dollars. So just less of a process.
And I guess the follow-up there is, so can the same be done with the operating, where we create a line item, because we do have that ability?
I will leave that to the council because that would come with collaboration between you all. I mean, you all put forward budget amendments, and I'm not sure, I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Well, not that part. I'm saying, do you know of any, you mentioned something about, legal parameters. If we create that line item, then you're all set, then you can move forward. In sending it to nonprofits for specific program, like
Yes,
Disruption
if in
Impact
the-
Fund.
If in the next budget conversation next year, the council saw fit to create, something to go to a nonprofit, then we would do whatever the council says we're supposed to be doing.
Thank you.
Council Weber, the floor is yours.
Yes, I just was wondering if you could speak a little more about the safeguards for, we can't hand money over to for-profit businesses, but we can hand it to a nonprofit to hand out. I mean, if there's a Blue Frog Bakery in Jamaica Plain, if we had a nonprofit that was going to award funds to bakeries named after frogs, of a strange color, not green frogs, and would that be illegal? Do you know anything else about, how broad that that nonprofit has to be?
Again, it would depend on how the money is, what your budget amendment says. So if your budget amendment said money has to go to a bakery with a weird color and name, we would then put out an RFP. Well, if it's over 50,000, we would put out an RFP and say we want to find a nonprofit that can distribute money to bakeries in the city of Boston with weird names and colors, and then they would put out a grant and they would apply.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds like trouble, but.
Council President Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and I still can't remember the question that I lost, but I just want to follow up. Yes, we could do it via the amendment process, or the administration can decide to actually put that in the budget based on the advocacy of counselors and community.
Well, yes. Yes, in the budget that is proposed, right. But again, this is why I'm saying that, at least for this specific issue that we're here for, I would not personally want to wait to go through the budget process to then get the money to provide that support. I want to be able to find ways to address what's going on, and then when there's money, to be flexible so that if it's not that it's a crisis moment because we've helped stabilize the business, I'd want the money to be able to invest in the future. But yes, technically, you are correct, Councilor.
Just the window is over, right? The amendment process, the budget we've worked on it. So the next opportunity for a budget is going to be for fiscal year 2025, 2026, which the budget is initiated by the administration, and the administration can already have that in the budget before it comes to the council.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. And then separately, the discussion about ARPA, there are, I believe it's $7 million left, and so, and that may be coming to the council sooner if it was a priority of the council to find a way to establish a fund with the understanding and with the acknowledgement that I think that this is a citywide conversation, and I think that there are businesses around the city that would be interested in something of this nature, so setting parameters around that. But the ARPA does provide another opportunity, a one-time opportunity, because once the $7 million is done, that's it. The ARPA conversation in terms of our ability to allocate funds via it is limited. So just wanted to actually put realistically what the options are on the table, in addition to what our state colleague mentioned. And then, what?
You could spend ARPA money now.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that goes to Councilor Mejia's point that, we, as a Boston City Council last year, voted on, we have more than $450 million come through the city from the government for post-COVID, our American Rescue Plan Act, and we allocated a lot of that money, but to the extent that there were line items created, and I'm not sure about, so we need to follow up to determine, is there already, and you talked about this, is there already a pot of money from which we can do this work? The last question that I have is about the space grant that you mentioned, and it's interesting, the legal resources. Is that just for space grant recipients, or is that an initiative that we're doing?
Yes, it's available to anyone.
Okay,
Yep.
and who are we partnering to make that happen
Well, there's a contracting process. We have several, I don't know off the top of my head, but there are several folks that we work with to provide that support.
So law firms that are what we work with in partnership with Main Streets?
Not law firms, it's small businesses, small offices. I don't know how to
Oh,
refer
like
to them.
law-
Small
law
legal offices.
offices.
Right, right,
Okay.
right. Mhm.
All right, and that's, I'm happy, I'm really happy to hear that that's happening, because a lot of these leases,
Right,
especially
right.
on leases, it's a really big issue. I've had a number of conversations with small businesses, and have put on my lawyer hat where possible, but it's really, really hard for them to get that
Right.
support, so I'm really, really glad to hear that that's something that's being made more available to our small businesses.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Counselor, again, this is why I made the comment around grants. I'm really trying to position the city in a way that we are paying for the things that a small business would use the money for anyway, so that when they receive additional dollars, that they're able to use that money to make other investments in the business. So I have federal dollars available that we can provide the legal support, provide the marketing support, help folks with their website development, et cetera. I don't want to have to pay you to pay someone else to do that. I want to pay for it. And then when you get dollars from, not just the city, but, the Main Streets Foundation or other corporate entities that are providing support, I want you to be able to use that money to invest in the business. Yeah.
Point of information for clarification.
Thank you.
Point of
Thank you.
information for
Hold
clarification,
on,
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, so just really.
Hold on.
Okay.
Councilman Mejia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I want to just 2 points. One is the ARPA dollars are available, and it's going to be coming to the city council, and there's 13 city councilors, and I think that we should all be, August 1st, we should start really organizing around making sure that those dollars are going to help these small businesses, but it's going to take all of us organizing. And then the other piece, and I'm really glad that Councilor Louis-Jean mentioned it, is that the real appetite has to be set by the administration, because we then have to fight for every single amendment. And oftentimes, and you've just seen it through this process, we were unable to successfully override a lot of the things that we wanted. So therefore, the power really lies in the administration saying, we deeply care about small businesses, and we're going to make an effort now to make sure that we have those dollars earmarked for next year. And I think that this is what collaboration looks like, getting us on the record to say we want to support, but the administration could throw us back some dollars so that we can work with. And I know my council colleague is dying to point a clarification on us, so I'm going to yield the rest of my time to her.
Thank you, Councilman Mejia. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman Mejia, I think you've already said it, but just for clarity, I think it's really important for people to understand. So the ARPA dollars can actually be spent right away. You don't have to wait till the next fiscal year, because we've already voted on certain amounts. It was categorized for different things, but it was not specifically budgeted for projects. So that's why we have $7 million left. So I think that the push here is for we're nothing without you. It's the community to support us in advocating to the administration, so that when we vote on, for example, Councilman Mejia may say it's only $7 million. It may mean that the council may decide that we're divvying it up for 13 councilors to decide their projects of priority, and that may mean that you're advocating with us, and it might be Councilman Mejia's choice of her $4 whatever million, and then we're supporting her in budget in voting, and so it's going to take some lobbying and emailing and phone calls to push other councilors for us to all be on the same page as well.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez. And I would say to that point, too, I believe, like the last cycle with ARPA dollars, the administration came to us with a package. I would assume that would probably be like the same way that they come to us again with another package. So I think the lobbying and advocacy starts now with our chief here, Idowu, and the administration, letting them know that in the next ARPA package, what we want to see inside that ARPA package. So if it's emergency relief funds for businesses that are being impacted by construction, I think that's what we need to voice to the administration. But hopefully, what Councilor Weber and his intern from LS, you said, right? LS?
BLS.
Oh, I thought it was LS.
Don't do that.
Found.
That is the LS is the chair's school, which is not Boston Lions School.
Right. But hopefully, those funds are something that we can collect and hopefully retroactively collect from some of our partners here in the building. But thank you, Chief Idowu, and thank you to this panel for joining us here today. We're going to be welcoming up the second panel, which is made up of
Wait, transportation's not leaving, right?
No, transportation, Julie,
Oh,
you're not going
transportation, you
nowhere.
can stay
Only
then.
Chief Idogu can go.
So we're going to be welcoming up Norman Parks, Peter Salvatore, and Terelis Soto, and Victor Fernandez.
Where's National, is National, where? Oh, this.
And if a representative from National Grid and Eversource is here, please join us on the stage.
Then they can sit over there. Yeah, that, yeah. And thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Yes,
Yeah.
either side,
Yeah.
yeah, wherever there's seats.
And could you just let people know that we're still going to be doing public testimony?
Yep, and after this round of
Take this mic.
this panel introducing themselves, we're going to go into another round of public testimony. So we will start with Norman Parks, Chief Engineer in the Construction for the Public Works Department. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. Good evening, all. Norman Parks, Chief Engineer for Boston Public Works. I'm just here just to listen. I have listened already and just here to listen more to how we can help and assist with your plight and your issues regarding the Blue Hill Ave, especially on the lower Blue Hill Ave from Delhi Street up to Warren Street at this time. Just look and listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Salvatore, Director of Engineering for Boston Water and Sewer. The floor is now yours.
I have no prepared remarks about this project. I am here also to listen and answer any questions you have about the project or specific outreach that we've done regarding it.
Thank you. Terelis Soto, co-owner of Rey de Pollo. The floor is now yours.
Hello, my name is Tyra Soto. I represent a Rey de Pollo restaurant and all the small businesses in the Blue Hill area. And how long do I speak for that?
Yep.
5 minutes?
Yes.
So this construction has been affecting us for over 2 years now with road closure, sidewalk closure, parking. It's making it very difficult for customers to approach our businesses. So with this said, I'm here to listen on what is going to be done for us because as I've been hearing, we do need a grant not only for, how could I say, how, not to pass it on to pay it off, yes, but what you guys not understanding, it's been affecting us for over 2 years, so bills being adding up. So we do have to pass it on to the landlords, to Eversource, to National Grid, to whoever we need to pay to keep our business alive. Taxes, we do owe all that money. So this is why we're here now today to speak on how you guys gonna help us keep our door open. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor Fernandez, the floor is now yours.
So I'm mostly going to speak about, seeing what's going on Blue Hill Ave, that part of Blue Hill Ave. I'm on the other side of Blue Hill Ave. I'm in Mattapan. And with the suggestion or proposal of doing that whole Blue Hill Ave corridor, it just brings fear to me because if this is 2 years for like a mile of construction, what is going to happen when they start doing Blue Hill Ave, when they start adding bike lanes? We depend on people on the South Shore, and I don't think those people are going to take bikes. I don't think those people are going to ride the bus. So I feel like the administration needs to, sit with the neighborhood because there are decisions being made that I don't think they take us in consideration because how are we going to survive? The amount of businesses on Blue Hill Ave, the amount of trucks, parking, is very, very limited. And you add a bike lane, you add this bus lane in the middle of the street, that's going to affect everyone on that street. We could see it with American Legion. We could see it with Columbus Ave. I owned a restaurant on the corner of Washington Street and Jamaica Plain. So everybody that used to park on Columbus Ave and Seaver Street is parking on Washington Street, because obviously there's no parking because the bike lanes and the bus is in the middle of the street. So I just, hope that if there is going to be something done to Blue Ave, that we'll have this conversation before that you guys take us into consideration, because we do pay taxes, and you guys are paid by our taxes. So I, just hope that, that's done before anything else is happening. Thank you.
Thank you. And from National Grid, we have Joe Carroll and Victor Santana.
Oh, my bad.
I don't want to drink your water. Good evening. My name is Joe Carroll, Director of Corporate Affairs with National Grid, and we are the gas company covering every neighborhood except for Hyde Park from that end. And I know the chief mentioned Boston's about 400 years old. Our gas pipes aren't that old, but we're very close. And some of the things that we'll get into, and I'm sure we've been listening, some of the questions, some of the things we want to discuss further will come up, so I'll yield my time for that.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to now I'll go to public testimony. Oh, sorry, Victor, sorry.
Victor Santana with National Grid, Community and Customer Management. I work for this guy. Buenas noches, Victor Santana at National Grid. We are here to not only speak about the specific project on Blue Hill Ave, but also take any ideas, initiatives that come out of this very important meeting so that we can disseminate that with the leadership back at home.
Thank you. Now we'll go back into public testimony. When you hear your name called, you have 2 minutes. Please state your name, address, any affiliation. We'll start with Karen Kershaw, and then followed by Hector. Oh, Hector already went, okay. And then Teresa Vasquez.
Hello, councilors. Thanks so much for holding this hearing. And I want to thank especially Councilors Mejia and Worrell for your recent marathon example of your commitment to us residents in this city, and to other councilors also, when you went line item by line item to uphold the critical aspects of the people's budget and the city budget. But that's not why I'm here. I'm self-employed, living and practicing in Roslindale. I'm a healthcare provider offering acupuncture services since 1996. For 10 years, my office was in JP. That building that my office was in was sold, and I had to move my practice to Roslindale. My current practice has been in Roslindale since 2008, and since then I've had disruption to my practice due to construction and development. So, my particulars are, and I wanted to also thank the business activists from Blue Hill Ave, because I feel like I'm learning so much from your activism tonight. So I realize my particular is a little different than others. It's more about construction so far as development and not streets. So perhaps it's not appropriate for me to be here tonight, but I'll just proceed. Let's see. Next door to my office sits an office which I rent. Sits the long vacant Bank of America building in Roslindale Center. The building was just sold. Bids were due in June. The building sits within the Squares and Streets zone and will be ripe for 4-story or more construction. My office window and my treatment room look directly next door onto this building, and there's no way my business can survive construction and redevelopment when this development takes place. In my practice, there are other small business practitioners, a couple massage practitioners, and in the building that we all lease, there's therapists and a day spa and other practitioners who will also be displaced. The questions we face are daunting. How much time do we have before construction begins? Will we be notified directly about construction, or will this notification fall into a hole that often exists for renters who don't own their buildings but are impacted by the work that's done in the streets or the development close by? And then relocation of my practice. Where would I go? Are there resources in the city that could help when businesses have to close and relocate due to development next door to their offices.
Thank you, Karen. And I'm only speeding it up now because we have a hard stop at 9 p.m., so.
Could I just say a couple of things that would be
Yeah.
helpful?
You got 30 seconds, yes.
Okay. I think if we have help from the city in negotiating leases, if we have to break our leases, if we have to leave, and not be facing first months, last months, and security deposits in new places. I'm also just want to say I'm an affordable housing advocate. I really believe in development and the construction that's going on in the city, but you know, to lose a practice of 28 years would be a hard thing.
Thank you. Teresa Vasquez, followed by Elvis Mendez, and then Jorge Romario.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Teresa Vázquez.
Oh, wait, un minuto. The translator's here. We have a translator. ¿Tú vas a traducir, mi amor? Ven para acá, gánate el chelito que te dimos hoy. I know, but we hired someone to do this job, and we want to make sure she gets her coins in. Vamos a trabajar. Okay. So this is going to be a Spanish, and we're going to have English translation. That's right. I got you, everybody. That's right. I'm going to be me all day, every day. Love me or leave me, honey.
Why you gotta explain it then?
I love it.
As much as she can without being interrupted.
I love it.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Teresa Vázquez. Yo soy la dueña de F&F Autoglass en la Blue Hill. Mi negocio está desde el 1995 al lado de F&F Autoglass. No, F&F Autoglass. F2F. Autoglass. Y al lado de mi negocio está el negocio de mi hijo, que es Tire Shop. Y es un negocio familiar, tenemos muchos años ahí. O sea, nuestra familia depende de nuestro negocio. Y hemos sido muy impactados por esta construcción. En todos los años que tenemos en la Blue Hill nunca habíamos tenido un impacto tan grande como el que tenemos ahora, ni siquiera con COVID. Entonces, hemos tenido pérdida, yo diría más de $100,000 en pérdida hemos tenido. Y como dueña de negocio, hemos tenido también pérdida de empleados, se me han ido empleados por la situación de no haber entrada de carro. Y tenemos ya una semana que me tienen cono en el frente de mi negocio y no puedo entrar al vehículo. Entonces, si no puedo entrar al vehículo, no puedo tener trabajo. Entonces, eso es lo que yo quería decir, que nos ha impactado bastante la persona que estamos en la Blue Hill de hace años. Gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Vasquez. I am the owner of FFL Douglas. I've been the owner since 1995. Next door is my son's business, Lewis Tyler Shop. Our families depend on our business. We've been impacted a lot because of the construction and prior with COVID. We've lost over $100,000 million, loss of employees.
She said 100,000.
100,000 million. Loss of employees. I've experienced in this last week cones blocking the front of my business. If there are no cars that can come in, there is no business, and I've been impacted a lot because of these changes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elvis Mendez, followed by Jorge Romario, and then Ricardo Sierra.
I represent Blue Hill Auto Sound. I'm the CEO, Elvis Mendez, 120 Blue Hill Avenue. I've been in business for about more than 20 years. And right after the pandemic, I struggled with the pandemic. And then The construction came right after. So it got worse. I lost employers, I lost inventory, struggling to pay my rent, taxes. I'm behind on my taxes, by the way. And we don't receive help from nobody. I heard that we have $2 million by the state, but I don't hear nothing about the city. How the city gonna help? Only the states that want to help us. I want to hear from you guys what the solution gonna be. Thank you.
Thank you. Jorge Romero. And then Ricardo Sierra.
Oh, it's pushing the button. Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us to be here and have this microphone so that we can give our testimony. I don't want to name all the names, but I especially want to thank the people who are bringing attention to this matter and putting the hard work to hopefully make something happen. Like I said, my name is Jorge Romero. Many know me by George. I represent Motor City. I'm accompanied by my brother, who's also my partner. We have the used car dealership on the corner of Blue Hill Ave and Woodbine. We've been in business since 2015, and we kind of had a front seat of seeing a lot of the destruction that this construction created. We sit across from Rey del Pollo. We're at the corner of the liquor store of Ariel. It created a lot of bad moments, a lot of grief, a lot of tension, parking, people arguing, a lot of confrontation, which was very unnecessary, but we managed to pull through, or we are pulling through. I put together some numbers that's specific to our business. We sell cars, used cars. It's not easy. It comes with some challenges that I won't really get into. But, you know, it's just going to be the repetitive theme that we just need people to get there. I can't ship a car. I can't deliver it. You know, they got to get there, see it, test drive it. They got to get on the road. And if they can't do those things, then, you know, I'm struggling. So I hear the timer. So just in colors, I put together a chart. This represents every car we've sold since we've been in business. This yellow line is just the average, which I use as just our target. And if you see this long streak line of red, this is how long we haven't been able to meet our numbers. In December, we sold 4 cars. Like, we had to dip to reserves and fund things out of our personal money to keep the business going. So
The columns months?
yeah, the columns are months. I mean, yeah, the columns are months and the rows are years. So yeah, just came to share that. Again, thank you, Boston Car Keys, for the shirt. I stand with you guys. And I'm going to also add that I was very hesitant to even keep coming to meetings because I was losing hope. Not to be pessimistic, but Elvis is my neighbor. We sit next to each other, and he actually had a good conversation with me and told me that that we should keep fighting. So, thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to encourage everyone who comes to public testify. This is how we create change, and this is how we move the needle. And I want to encourage anyone who's listening and watching in, please continue to show up to these hearings, because if we don't hear from you, then we're not hearing what's happening on the ground. So with that said, thank you everyone who showed up. And our last public testimony for the night is Ricardo Sierra.
A trabajar, ven para acá.
Okay, we are the owner of Boston Car Keys. Tal vez. Yo lo digo en inglés si te necesito.
Okay. So,
Sí.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we have a business for over in 5 years in Blue Hill Ave. And we have my loss. We have behind over in $200,000 and when the construction started, you know. And now we can report the payrolls. We cannot pay my rent. We are behind the rent, like around $30,000. And it's not easy for me, yeah. Yeah, sí.
me dice.
Sí, que he perdido más de $200,000 en 3 años debido a la construcción.
Ah, ¿lo estoy diciendo bien?
Usted lo estaba diciendo.
Okay, and we cannot report my payroll right now porque no quiero que se me acumule más. Estoy debiendo mucho dinero.
I've lost over $200,000 in the last 3 years due to construction, and I do not want to report this to payroll because it would be another loss for me.
Y necesitamos una ayuda urgente, sí.
We need an urgent help.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to my council colleagues, starting with Councilor Mejia. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. So 5 minutes. I'm curious, I'd love to hear, I'm going to have 3 questions. One is going to be for the city, one is going to be for our community folks who have been impacted, and the other is going to be for our folks who are National Grid and our utilities, okay? Just so everybody knows, everyone's going to get a question. So I'd love to start off with some folks on the National Grid and like the utilities folks here. What funds, if any, exist, like either whether it be through corporate responsibility or other types of avenues have you all explored as it relates to this particular topic? Because I know other cities have created funds, and so I'm just curious what role, if any, National Grid has considered.
If you had those examples, I'd love to hear it from that end. From National Grid standpoint, on what it is, just listening, we're taking it all back to see what other vehicles are there. We are a regulated entity from that end. We operate across 124 cities and towns in Massachusetts. We are mandated by the DPU to do work on our pipes. Again, the age and infrastructure repairing, not really increasing, but just replacing in kind. So listening to especially the earlier panel, earlier speakers, and just in terms of just a car dealer, from that relationship and how to take for a test drive, it is that communication early. It's not going away, construction. Unfortunately, it is an upgrade of services that we have to perform for the betterment of everything that's being delivered. The better we can do that earlier in terms of scheduling and coordinating is much more productive, or greater productive than having to go back out on an emergency without any notice.
Only because
So
my
that's,
time is going to go really
Yep.
quick, and
So
you
that
got me thinking about a follow-up, is that it really is around planning, and so if there's any way that any of these utility companies can actually expedite the time that it takes to do a project, and that's going to be a cost, maybe it's not a financial cost to the direct business, but in your planning, if you say, I'm going to hire 100 extra people so that we can get this project done sooner, then that's another way in which the utility companies may also be able to offset some of the financial impacts that these businesses can achieve. So that's kind of where I'm going.
No, and thoroughly agree, working through it. You know, again, I'm not going to stand here and make excuses, but just talking real. It is weather, right? We do live in the Northeast. We do have a short window in which we can operate from that end. From a safety standpoint of our workers, city residents, you know, mentioned, there is that safety component that we have to maintain within our equipment. Unfortunately, we did lose an individual and a police officer who got killed on a construction site. So it is something that we have to look at, but how do we minimize the impact where it is? How do we collaborate in terms of what the hours are? And we discussed way back, and now we are. It's a different urban city type thing, so you can't work at hours for business when there's residential, so.
All right, so just because my time is going to go, thank you so much for that. So I'm going to go now to the city in terms of planning and communication, because you guys offer the permits. So I'm just curious about your due diligence in making sure that projects are beginning and ending on time, and would love to hear a little bit about what type of communication plan is in place as it relates to when you give someone a permit. Does it come with any concessions that you're going to be done in 3 months, and if you're not, we're going to pull your permit? Like, what does that look like? I'd love to hear that.
Sure. Good question. Thank you again. So when it comes to the permitting process with the utility companies, there's a coordination factor. They bring it through, they sit in through planning. It's an attempt maintenance plan as far as what they're going to do the work with. They give a construction plan as far as the work scope they're going to be doing and where, how long it's going to take. Most of that is planned. For these bigger projects that they're doing, such as this one, the water and sewer, National Grid falling behind them in the work with the gas and the water, it's a little more complex than just a quick fix of a smaller work site as far as putting a footing for a fire alarm and things, for water for fire alarm, or doing a small repair. This is more longevity, a long point of construction work that's being done. This project was embarked upon, had a long series of different phases to it, which brought it forth.
I'm sorry, because my time is up, and I did want to get a question to the community. So, Councilor Worrell, do you give me? I'm sorry. This is the problem with the way we're functioning here, is that we don't have enough time to get through this, so we're going to have to do a second hearing, just so you know, please. But I'd like to talk to the community, the folks who are living the impact right now. In your ideal world, right? One is that one from that you're living it right now, and one that you will be living it in the future. What does repairing the harm, what would it look like for you?
I want to start off
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
because I'm getting the hit right now here in the future. So, one, it will be to let us know it's coming, just we could prepare for the future. And two, okay, this is impacting everybody's pockets right now. It's not impacting like the housing, it's impacting the pockets, because nobody could get to the business, to my business. So, any help? If National Grid could cut down, let's say, help us with the bill, they're gonna pay. I know that you guys do for residents, they pay, you guys meet up with them, they pay like, let's say the bill's $100. You pay $25, they pay the rest. That could help. Low down taxes. Anything that could help what is, we still have to pay and there's no money going for it. If that makes any sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Victor, and because you're going to be experiencing this soon, what do you think you need and your colleagues to be set up for success moving forward?
I think this is a rare occasion, because I have never seen construction last so long in one spot. I think better planning, help with, the utilities, help with the taxes. If it's going to be a project that lasts this long, there has to be some type of funding to the business, by sections, because we understand that the city's old. We understand that it needs to be upgraded to our utilities, but to be on a neighborhood for 2 years, almost 2.5 years, the same mile, there has to be funding available to those businesses. If it's just regular construction, I think we could weather the storm. But when something like this lasts so long, there has to be funding behind that. And I know regular construction, there's deadlines to finish the job, and at the end, if you don't finish, it's a penalty. This is utilities, this might be a little different, but maybe the city provides some type of funding. Listen, if this lasts more than 2 months, 3 months, the city's gonna come and support those businesses.
Thank you. Council Weber, the floor is yours.
Okay, I guess quickly, I don't know if this is for Deputy Chief Campbell or maybe Mr. Parks, but do we have timelines for street construction when there's for the utilities involved? Like, just generally, do you have time set? What are they?
Depends on the project.
Well, somebody's going to do electrical work on Center Street in Jamaica Plain, and they want a permit. Do you have a time set for that, or rules like a?
So there's, to answer your question, there are not rules. When they apply for a permit, they apply for a period of time, and so the permit is for a period of time. Often they apply for an extension because they're not done. So that can happen. Where we have granted a permit and it gets extended, it might get extended multiple times.
Okay, and then so what's this? Is there's a standard length for the time of the permit, or who comes up with the length of the time?
That's going to be a part of the application for the permit. They will ask for a period of time.
And does anyone from the city come back and say, well, this is too much or this is too little? We're familiar with these kinds of projects.
Yes, we have a process. We go back and forth. If something seems like it's going to take a little long there, that we speak to them on it. And again, it depends on the project. If you had a service that was putting a service into a home, they might want a week, and we might say, well, we got a lot of projects going on there. Could you do it in 3 days? Yes, we can do that. Get the permitting process going through. So every job is different. In this particular case, what I was trying to say with Blue Hill Ave, it's a little more intrusive as far as the work. We're digging water lines, putting separation services, replacing along with there. So it's more intrusive than a lot of your normal maintenance construction work that's going on around the city.
Okay, and just I guess for future reference, but.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
It helps to get close to the mic, but. Is the work on Blue Hill Ave taking longer than you expected? Yes, or just a yes or no?
Well, I'm not on a panel, right? Just a yes or no. I mean, yes.
Okay. In your expertise.
In my expertise, there's, and like in any construction, right? You have a plan to go forth. You could run into an issue that may delay the process. In this particular case, they're digging very deep. They're digging through a lot of rock, which can take time. They have a lot of complications on that job that they have. I really don't want to speak much as far as how long that job should take, because you have professionals out here with water and sewer that's in charge of that job. They bring the plans forward to us, give us the information regarding it, and then we work along with them with the work scope.
Okay, I guess my question is for Mr. Salvatore. And I would like to hear from National Grid also. I'm not, so in your experience, is this taking longer? And every construction project is going to have things pop up. I mean, based on what you know about the project, I guess have there been things that have popped up that were totally unforeseeable when it started? And B, do you think that, given the circumstances, that this is proceeding as fast as possible, or is it going slower than it should?
So when Boston Water and Sewer, when we put jobs up.
I'm sorry, can you just speak into the
so when
mic?
Boston Water and Sewer put jobs up for bid, we actually dictate the amount of working days that are allowed. In this particular job, we are on schedule, and we are within the working days that we allowed the contractor to complete the job. Part of the reason the estimate of time for this job is so long is because of the complexity. We've just, not to get too technical, but on this particular job, we've excavated to depths up to 25 feet. And we've been, like Norman said, breaking rock because we're taking what was one pipe and we're installing two. So our new sewer is actually going deeper than the existing pipe was. That was all foreseen and taken into account when we estimated the amount of time this job would take.
Okay, if National Grid could just address, what they're doing, what's happening, why is it taking so long, and, what you're doing to, I assume you're cognizant of the issues it's causing in the community, what you're doing about that.
Yeah, no, fully aware. And as Norman mentioned, and just before, we do have conversations prior to, we actually come out, prior to the construction during the winter season to outline, because there's a lot of other work going on. It is difficult going through ledge, when we're digging on that, putting the main, we are actually taking 2 mains out of place, 2 aging infrastructure, putting brand-new steel in from that end. So we're reducing 2 footprints out there, putting 1 in. The difficulty or the length of time for us on a gas main replacement is then, once you have the gas main in, you then have to transition each and every service off the older gas main onto the new one. So that will take time to coordinate, not shutting off to coordinate, getting in, connecting the gas at the residence if they have natural gas, and then getting it going. So from that end, as Peter mentioned, it was in the same category, what we're looking at from the aspect of it, and looking into whether it's weather or any other type of delay from that end. So we are on that.
Thank you, Council Weber. Council Fernandez Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think Councilor Weber started the asking part of my question. I just wanted to put everything in perspective in terms of like the work that is going on. I think, we see the work, and some of us know and some of us don't, especially for the community. I want to understand, so what is Boston Water and Sewer doing on Blue Hill Ave? And sorry, like really quick, like in a nutshell.
So this is what we're doing on Blue Hill Ave is the 3rd phase of a sewer separation contract, the 3rd and final phase. So
Sewer, what is that?
we are taking an existing combined sewer and we're separating it into a separate sanitary
Why?
and storm system to reduce combined sewer overflows.
To what?
Reduce combined sewer overflows.
Got it, thank you. And what is National Grid doing there?
So specific to National Grid, we are replacing 1,100 feet of main from Irwin to Woodbine. National Grid específicamente está cambiando 1,100 pies de tubería de gas desde la intersección con Irvine hasta Woodbine.
Got it.
Just, if I could just add, unique to us from a cast iron main, which is the older pipe, there is a mandated law that we have to replace if we're encroached from that end. So, again, that's part of why we're out there. And while we're there, we're upgrading that infrastructure as well.
Thank you. When did this start? The date?
This phase started in 2022.
Sorry, date? Do you have a month?
I do not know.
Do you have a month?
I believe it was April of 2022.
2022?
Yes.
So it's going on 2 years, not 2 years yet?
Yes.
Okay. So more than 2 years. Oh, wait.
More 2 years.
City councils don't keep track of time. So it's more than 2 years now. And same for National Grid?
This particular phase we started in December 2023.
Okay. And you guys decided to coordinate to do this all at the same time?
I don't want to speak for National Grid, but they.
But at some point, did you communicate?
Yes, we did communicate.
Oh, okay. And what was that? That was a collaboration, or that was
So-
some sort of?
On most streets we dig, we have to coordinate with National Grid. They typically will go out ahead of us. In this particular case, they couldn't because there was nowhere for them to go.
So you guys were in communication about when,
and because
who's
we
going to go
encroached
when?
their main,
Okay.
they were required to.
Thank you. What was the coordination with the city?
So we coordinate extensively with the city on this particular job.
When?
Our first meeting with the community actually was back in 2020, where we had a community meeting and we received heavy pushback for our proposed. We had proposed permanent work zones, and we actually did cancel that contract and rebid it with the current detour plan.
What would that mean, permanent work zone?
That meeting was back in July of 2020.
No, what would that mean? What does that mean, permanent work zone?
We were originally going to work, essentially the detour that we have in place while we're working, we were going to have that in place 24/7.
After that meeting, when did you notify the community about the 2022?
That was a community meeting that we had set up.
That was it?
No, that was the first one. I personally.
But then you changed the plan, because that was rejected.
Correct. And
When did you
that's-
notify about the 2022 again?
That first meeting would have been before. I do not know the date off the top of my head, but I personally have attended 4 separate community meetings. I know there are additional ones that I did not attend that we also held. But we do try to coordinate with the abutters as much as we can. Even in addition to our community meetings, we mail notification of our projects
Okay,
ahead of ourselves.
thank you. Sorry, this is terrible. It's like speedy thing. So sorry, it's my kid. For the city, sorry, if there's this coordination, this communication, and we've agreed that the city could be doing better and how we improve, we could be doing better as counselors and thinking about this ahead of time as well. Like, it's all of our responsibilities, right? So I did talk to Chief Franklin Hodge about specifically mapping the projects and figuring out how to preemptively put that somewhere on a platform. BPDA does it, you guys do it for speed humps, you do it for other projects, but specifically for construction, I had been advocating to do something like this. When you know it in 2020, then why not map it out, do the timeline, and just a projection, and say it's a projection, right? And then put it out so people can know ahead of time what they're looking forward to, and then at least allow the community opportunity to work with us, advocating in terms of going after National Grid. National Grid, I'm sure you'll be open to some sort of conversation about how to mitigate some of the harm and financial harm. But I think we're learning a lot here together because there's so much happening. But it's a disservice for me to sit here and say to you, like, oh, now we're learning, so we can do better next time. There's a need for a conversation for us to look into how to support and intervene right now. And I think we're all committed to doing that as counselors. And I really appreciate Council Mejia for saying that this is going to be a continued conversation. I hope that Boston Water and Sewer, I know that transportation is dedicated. You guys are always available. And super collaborative, as well as National Grid. We would love to get in some sort of conversation to look at how we can mitigate some of these harms. I reserve the rest of my time. I know I have 2 minutes left.
It's funny. Council President Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to thank everyone again for coming out. I want to thank Norman and Mr. Parks for all the work that you do whenever we have an issue. I think when you were on the job, I had issues with constituents, and you were right there to answer. So I just want to thank you for all the work that you do. I have a question for National Grid. Has a fund like this have you ever created a fund like this to help community organizations, or is it to help businesses and organizations impacted by construction? Does that exist at National Grid? Has that something that you've done in the past?
Not specific within that type of a world. We have other philanthropy efforts on that one, but within that, from construction.
Not as like a mitigation?
Not,
Okay.
There's a claim form stuff,
Yeah.
but
A claims form, and I believe for same thing, because I also had a constituent right on the JP Mission Hill line who had an issue with Boston Water and Sewer, and I know that it has to be like a legal question of liability in order for Boston Water and Sewer to come in and compensate or offer any sort of support for a business.
Yeah, I can't really speak to that. I'm on the engineering side, but there is a process to file a claim through Boston Water and Sewer for
But it's not
more related to damage.
Okay, damages. Okay, so I think that this could be a good opportunity for us to think about what could that look like in partnership with the city of Boston. I do want to just state that when I talked about the High Park for the business affected by the bridge that has really canceled a lot of the traffic, I just want to be clear that they got money, and I think the money was about like $5,000 per business. It was like a total of $50,000. So I do want to elevate that as an example, but I do also want to show like the restrictions that had. Not saying that we shouldn't fight for more, because I think we should, given the number of businesses and people who showed up this evening. But even when from my short experience of being here in the office for 3 years, even when government has stepped in and has stepped in a way that it has been helpful, but I don't know if it's been sort of in the way that we need to be the most impactful. So yes, looking at past models. So I always like to know what we've done, just so that we know, but not saying that we're limited by that because of the extent and the length of time here that we may need to do more. So thank you to the sponsor, thank you to the chair, and thank you to community for being here.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions for Boston Water and Sewer. You said that back in, I forgot what was it, 2020, 2022, the idea was to do work around the clock. Is the work that's happening now in Blue Hive taking longer because of we're not working 24 hours a day? And then also, what is the anticipated completion date?
Just to clarify, we would have the work zone set up around the clock, but we would not be working around the clock. The hours we are allowed to work it does have an impact on the amount of time a project takes. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to answer all your questions. The contract right now is anticipated to be done in August, complete 100% of Boston Water and Sewer. And just to touch on a point that was brought up further, all of our construction projects are on our website on a map. In this particular project, we do put updates on our website monthly.
Thank you. I'll turn it now to my council colleagues for closing remarks, starting with the lead sponsor, Council Mejia.
Yes, so I am going to throw a question in my closing remarks because I'm curious. In regards to the contractors that are on these sites, what opportunities exist? I'm always looking for accountability, right? Somebody has to pay somehow to be motivated to continue a project or to complete it. And I'm just curious, does the city provide any penalties and fees for projects that are not done within the time frame that you have allotted the permit for?
No.
Okay, we should
No
consider that. Because I think that that will motivate them to handle it. And I'm also curious about how many of those trucks, oftentimes, because we're always talking about jobs for the city of Boston employees and opportunities, but a lot of these trucks have outside plates from New Hampshire and other spaces and places. So not only are they disrupting the small businesses that are here to provide business to small businesses in Boston, but they're also outside businesses that are doing the construction and causing further harm. So I'm just curious about what practice does the city of Boston have around accountability?
So thank you for that question. So we do have, there are requirements for contractors who work with the city on local hire, basically, equivalent to that. However, these are contractors that are being hired by these utility companies. They are not directly contracted with the city.
So the reason why I asked that question, because I'm always trying to figure out where's the appetite to repair the harm, right? So at the very least, if they're going to do business and disrupt small businesses, then we should consider putting I don't know what that would look like, but an ask that the businesses that they contract, at the very least, are small businesses that represent Bostonians. So it's just, I know we can't mandate that, but I just think that there's something for us to consider and to learn and to go back to our departments and figure out what we can do. So I think that that might be another way to repair some harm here in the city of Boston, maybe not, I don't know. But I want to just, I'm gonna close out with my remarks. I want to really first thank the utility companies that are here, particularly National Grid, and for you to be here as late as you are. And Boston Water and Sewer, you're a quasi-agency, so you're kind of under the city of Boston, so you were going to show up anyways. But the fact of the matter is that National Grid, like, it really demonstrates a lot to the constituents that are here and to our office, that Peter and Victor, that you were here as long as you were, and that you got the invitation when you got it, and you showed up to speak. And Victor. Oh my God, all you guys, y'all are Victors.
My middle name's Peter. I'll be Peter. It's all right.
But the real sincerity is that when you show up for community knows that you're listening. And I just want to thank you because you didn't have to be here, but you showed up. And I think that speaks volumes to your desire to want to work with community as a partner alongside our office and the city to repair the harm, whatever that looks like. And I just want to just really thank you both for being here. Yeah, you get some love too, Boston Water and Sewer in the city, because y'all are here too late, but that's your job. And I really do appreciate you all taking the time to answer our questions. And as a commitment from our office, I'm going to say right now on the record, when it comes to advocating for opera dollars, every single dollar that I advocate for is going to go towards helping to support this particular issue. So I'm going on the record to let everybody know that on the city council, when it comes to opera dollars, every single dollar that I'm going to fight for is going to be for the disruption that these small businesses have had to endure over the last 2 years. That's going to be my commitment to you all. And the reason why we filed this hearing order is because part of the policy-making process is first you get things on the record, you get to hear what the issues are, you get to uncover, and then you get to work together to define what some solutions are. So now we're going to go back and work alongside our colleagues to present something that will either be a policy right? Or maybe or a protocol or a procedure or something that we can do to help alleviate, right? Because what's the sense of having a hearing if we didn't hear anything that's gonna inspire us to do something about it? So I just want you all to know that your time tonight was well spent because you had to show up so that we can listen to you and your ideas so we can go back and do our job, which is to take what we've learned and do something about it. And that's the commitment that I'm making to those folks who have spent their entire night here. And the last thing I want to say is I want to thank central staff because we only get one hearing off-site a year. And I chose to do my hearing for this issue in the neighborhood because I wanted it to be accessible to everybody. And I want to thank central staff for working with my office and making that happen. So thank you, and thank you to my colleagues who showed up tonight to participate, and I look forward to working alongside you all and working alongside Councilor Worrell, who is the chair of Ways and Means, to get you all some money, and working alongside him on a hearing order that he filed around a development fund that I think there is another pathway to repair the harm. So thank you all.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia, for your advocacy. I came to the council seeing Councilor Mejia advocate for small businesses in a fair way, and it's an honor to work alongside you to advocate for our small businesses. And to my colleagues, Councilor Mejia was the lead sponsor, so I allowed her to ask questions and have 5 minutes, but I'm going to give you guys 1 minute for closing remarks. Closing remarks, not questions. Councilor Weber, the floor is yours.
Just one question, Chair. No, just kidding. Yeah, it's, thank you for everyone for coming. I just, this is an issue everyone across the city deals with construction in their neighborhoods, and, they impact small businesses. I'm cognizant also of, if we didn't have construction, we would be complaining about a whole different set of issues. We need water and sewer, National Grid to be replacing our infrastructure. We just need to do it in a way that isn't, harming our small businesses. And, I'm looking forward to exploring with Councilor Mejia and Chair Worrell, an impact relief fund or other ways that we can help people who need it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, the floor is yours.
I wanted to talk to you, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I wanted to talk to you, the people sitting down, the small business owners, because I do feel like it's difficult for you to come here and listen to us and then feel like the whole meeting makes no sense, or that, as one of the gentlemen was talking about with the car business, was talking about losing hope or not being a cynic, and you're not, right? Like I've been a small business and I know a small business owner, and I know the pain that it comes with it. You put everything, including your life's investment, your car, your house, everything in it. I just want to make it really plain and say, like, look, the point is that the city has this law that says that the money can't be given to for-profit businesses. Okay, but you heard here today that the chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion is saying, yeah, but we can give it to nonprofits as a program, and they can give it to for-profit businesses. There's $7 million left in ARPA, and we want some of that money to go to small businesses, especially those in dire need. And we know that Roxbury and Mattapan are the ones in most need. The process itself is BS. Like, this hearing is great, the fact that we gave you an opportunity to speak, but what did you walk away with? Do you feel that there was a purpose to the meeting? Do you feel like we got somewhere? And I want you to walk away feeling like there is going to be continuity, like we got somewhere. No, Councilor Mejia, I'm not speaking to the fact that you filed it. I'm saying that when you go home, I want you to be able to say, these counselors are going to follow up with me, and there's going to be a process. I heard something really great from, Madhouse Cafe, and owner who was basically like, look, when you give us technical assistance, we don't need rebranding, we don't need websites, we don't need you to fix our email or whatever. We need you to basically have the application ready, where's the grant, okay, and just tell us where to sign so we can get the money. You're small business owners, you don't have time for all that. All this talking, all this, running around and bureaucracy and red tapes and the stuff that we're saying, what did you walk away with? Do you feel like this continuity
continuity. Entonces, cuando llegue a la casa, por favor, que manda un email a nosotros todos, porque yo te doy mi celular. Yo soy tu concejal del Distrito 7 y yo no he ido de mayoría de ustedes. Entonces, yo necesito hacer mejor en trabajar con ustedes, porque yo sí voy a luchar con Council Mejía, con Council Lujan, con Council Well y Weber. Nosotros toditos estamos aquí, principalmente para ustedes, to make sure, para verificar y garantizar que vamos a darte soluciones y vamos a luchar, aunque peleamos con el administration y que ellos no están de acuerdo, vamos a luchar y vamos a comunicar más, vamos a hacer otra reunión hasta que tenemos la solución. So thank you very much for being here. There is a way for us to simplify this, keeping it real plain, get solutions, and save our small businesses. You are the backbone of our city. We appreciate you, and we're going to continue this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Louis Jen.
Thank you. Buenas noches. That's all I got. No, un poco más, pero I'm un poco nervous. But I'm just really happy that I was able to come to this evening and really hear from our community, from so many businesses that are the heartbeat of our city that I frequent. And so I want to make sure that we are really addressing this issue about it's dollars and cents that you feel every day or that you are missing out on every day because of construction projects that are taking too long. And so now you've spoken up, you've come, it's 9:15, you've stepped away from your businesses, you stepped away from your kids, and now the work is on us. So thank you so much for being here, and your voices were not in vain. It was very important that we heard. So thank you to the city. Again, thank you to National Grid. Thank you to Boston Water and Sewer, to my colleagues, and the work continues. La lucha continúa. Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you to the panelists. Thank you to everyone who showed up today to lend their voice to this process. This fight is a long fight. As Council Mejia stated, there is a hearing order her and I put together on trying to find ways on how to be more supportive of our small businesses through revolving funds, revenue bonds. So we're going to be working on bringing that forward this year and establishing a revolving fund to be more supportive, not just construction, but to our small businesses here in the city of Boston. So thank you, everyone that showed up again. Thank you to Central staff, Ethan, Shane, Candace, my whole entire team. And this hearing on docket number 0761 is adjourned.